Hey YouTube, this is Team STD's
Save the Dragons!
Team STD's
Save the Dragons!
Coming at you today with a deck profile for Chainburns. It's kind of a troll deck right now. It was one of the meta of the last format. We'll see how it goes this time, but anyways, let's get started. So we have 3 Swift Scarecrows. This card is basically Battle Fader, but it can't be warninged or Fiendish Chained, and it doesn't stay on the field, which is actually pretty good for this deck. Next we have 3 Faders. It's pretty awesome, stops OTKs, only problem is it can be warninged and Fiendish Chained, so it makes for very sad days. Anyways,
sad days.
Then we've got 2 Lava Golems. It really messes people up if you stop them with a Battle Fader, then tribute their big guys for a Golem. And since synchros aren't big, yeah, you can't really but there aren't a lot of exceeds coming around either that are level 8 in very many decks, so people can't really do much with this card other than attack. And say maybe they had a random rogue monarch deck, then maybe, they could tribute it. But other than that, it's a pretty good card for all burn decks, mostly chain burns right now. Next we have 2 Metaions. This is probably the best card for any burn deck, hands down, because it stops.
It's like a
any
mole
monster
on steroids.
It's like a Grand Mole, but it can't be destroyed, you can't Mirror Force it, you can Compulse it, but then it just comes back the next turn. And most people only run this card at 1 if they ever even run it, but I feel like 2 is a good number for this deck because you're drawing so often that it's nice to just keep bouncing their monsters off the field and ruining their exceeds. So, yeah, that's it for the monster engine. It's pretty small, but it's great.
So
it does
tiny,
it does its job.
Size doesn't matter.
Next we have 3 one-day apiece. It's a great card. Draw a card. Sure, your opponent draws a card, but it keeps you alive and helps you set up for your huge chain burns. Next we have the reason this deck is called Chain Burns, Chain Strike. Builds up each time you get a counter, not a counter, each time you build up in your chain. So say you go off at a chain link 6, this card's going to deal a whopping 2400 damage. Next we have Duality. Sad to see it at 2, but hey, this deck only ran it at 2, so
Duality is a good number.
no loss. 2 is a good number for Duality.
Everyone's
Now,
good with 3.
this is a really small engine for spells and monsters, so here comes the traps. 3 Just Desserts. Great card in combination with Ojama Trio. 3 Secret Barrels. Also a staple of this deck. Also a great combination with Ojama Trio. 3 Accumulated Fortunes. You're doing a lot of chaining, and this is a great card for drawing. 3 Reckless Greeds. You only want to activate this card when you have at least 2, or if you really have to in 1.
Like in the
But
Malefic deck.
I've even opened up with this card in 3s. It's a great card, and that in combination with all the other draw cards makes for happy days. Next we have 3 Legacy of Yata-Garasu. Most people don't run this at 3. I feel like it's good at 3. It's just great, and if there's that random spirit monster, I guess you get a plus there. We don't see many spirits these days, but 2 Jar of Greed, also a great card. Most people play 3 of these instead of 3 legacies, but either or. Next we have 2 Magical Cylinders. It came to 3, but I still feel like 2 is plenty. Then we have 2 Ojama Trios, shut people down like a boss. And finally, for the whole deck, we have 2 Wabokus. I personally do not like Threatening Roar because you have to call your opponent's plays from what I know. So basically if they swarm up with monsters, you have to activate it then. I don't know. I feel like Waboku is just a better choice than Threatening Roar because yeah, they can still attack, but there aren't really any decks in the meta right now that profit from attacking because there just really aren't. Anyways, this is a really fun deck. It's really fun to use against Dark Worlds, really anyone. And it's just overall a fun deck. And then here we have our wonderful Ojama tokens. Yes, it summons 3.
Amazing!
But, there's always that chance that you can activate another one after you've activated it, so it's just nice to have. So, that's basically the deck. I haven't really built the side deck for this yet because I haven't taken it to any YCS or anything. But if you were to build a side deck, you'd really only need something like MSTs, or something to take care of trap stuns. Trap stun you can't really do much about, but basically if you know your opponent's running trap stun, just be careful with your chain plays. Don't go into big chains. If you run into Royal Decrees, just basically at 3 MSTs, if you really want to, side in some Dust Tornadoes, but those won't really help you if it's a decree unless you chain. So, that's the deck.
Thank you guys.
Comment, rate, subscribe. Ah!
Chicken wings.